Welcome back to Red Pill, Blue Pill. I'm Emily Reinhardt, student physical therapist with College of St. Mary's in Omaha, Nebraska, and today we're going to tackle pain and dig into a little bit of what it is. The body is an amazing thing. Spend a few minutes watching the medal rounds for the Olympic gymnasts every few years, or a mother giving birth, or triathletes competing amazing feats of skill, and you'll be impressed. The body is truly incredible. And how it manages and responds to pain is truly just as remarkable. But what is pain? Well, ultimately, pain is a signal in your brain, and that signal can be generated by many things, and nerve fibers carry that signal. The signal can be hot or cold, or a signal that says there's been a break in the integrity of something, like a broken bone, or a ligament or a tendon, or even that the surface of something is sharp or dull, like if you touch a cactus by accident. The brain receives that signal and then decides, based on a bunch of different things, such as past experiences or expectations of what it should feel like, how much pain or how severe and intense the pain is that you're in. So you may be asking, so wait a second, so pain is just in my head then? Well, yeah, kinda. How severe and intense the pain is determined by your brain, which is influenced at that time that it gets a signal, okay, by many things, such as your stress level, any past injuries you've had, your expectation. Oh, I've heard that doing this kind of injury that it hurts, so therefore it's got to hurt. Any core morbidities that you may have, or your socioeconomic status and your mental health. These are all just a few things that influence your brain to say, oh man, this really hurts, or no, it doesn't hurt that much. This approach and understanding also explains why sometimes, or many times, the level of pain that we're experiencing doesn't quite match up with the injury that we've had. Take, for example, a paper cut. For many Americans, this hurts quite a bit, and it's going to elicit a pretty strong response, but yet it's so small. Or, as any parent can tell you, when they have to get up in the middle of the night for their child, stepping on that Lego in the middle of the floor that they can't see, yeah, that elicits a pretty strong response too, but yet it doesn't break the skin and it didn't break a bone. Both of these injuries are small and insignificant. They barely disrupt your body, to be honest, but they often elicit extreme responses and pain from the individual. It also explains the documented cases of individuals who have suffered extreme injuries on the battlefield and are still able to continue forward, sometimes not even knowing about their injury for years. It also explains why there are over 40% of Americans with a herniated disc in their back, but yet don't have any pain or symptoms. Lastly, our brain determining the severity and intensity of the pain also explains why we may deal with pain when there's nothing wrong. This is because sometimes when we have an injury, our brain switches on to high alert mode. In many cases, this is a good thing. If you've torn a ligament in your ankle, you need to be careful so that you don't damage other structures worse. That's where your brain's response comes in super helpful when it's screaming, hey, don't move, there's a problem. That's a really important message and a really important response we need to pay attention to. Where it gets tricky, though, is when the brain decides to stay in high alert mode. And this is unfortunately what tends to happen. The brain, more often than not, takes an attitude of fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. So once we get hurt, kind of tenses and is always overreactive and ready to just react and scream out again. It begins to view many things as a threat to the body. Therefore, it stays tense and, as I mentioned, overreact to injuries that follow or anticipate injuries when none are actually there. In many cases of chronic pain, it continues fabricating pain when there's actually nothing wrong. It begins to perceive everything as a threat to the system or the body and generates pain in order to actually protect the body. It's kind of that overprotective parent in a way. So that in a nutshell is what pain is all about. The brain receives a signal. Whether it's a signal that says something is wrong or not, it's a signal, and then it decides to say, you're in pain and this is how much. This can be really frustrating to some individuals, and I understand this all too well. However, this can actually be great news because as we understand that the brain is generating a response about pain, there are several options out there to help control and lower that response from the brain. In a way, help the brain take a breath and calm down, and help to see the world around it and the body in a non-threatening way. Again, sometimes we need that heightened response. If you've broken your ankle, I don't want you walking around with your foot about to fall off. But sometimes when the brain gets hyper-responsive, that response is unneeded, and it can impact ordinary life and circumstances. That's where we develop chronic pain from. So, that's a short overview of what pain is, and I hope you continue watching, as next I'm going to dig into how we manage that within our healthcare systems, and also how physical therapy can evaluate and help treat your pain.